Hi, I'm Jackie Williams, and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Auckland, New Zealand, and I wanted to share a little bit with you today about the Stampin' Up! Host Reward system. Now, this system was put in place to reward our hosts for having events, and they would then receive a percentage of all the orders from that event back in host money that they could then spend on any catalog product of their choosing. Now, I also want to point out that any order that meets the minimum threshold amount to receive host benefits also qualifies. So whether that's an order from an individual customer or an order that you yourself are putting in, you also received this host money to spend. Now, there's a host reward chart in every catalog. It's currently on page 73 of the current mini catalog in this little blue box. So you can, I'm not going to mention the exact numbers in this video because every country and every currency will be a little different. So you can just check that what it is for where you live. But just notice that very first level. So any order reaching that first level will receive the corresponding host benefits. So the sweet spot in this chart is actually that first level, because any order underneath that first level receives 0% money back. It's just an order put in for supplies, which there's nothing wrong with that. However, once you reach that minimum first threshold, then you're getting 10% back on your supplies. So that's a pretty good discount or extra reward. So that's your sweet spot for the chart. So as I mentioned, the first level receives 10% back. The second level receives 12% back, third level 14% back, and fourth level receives 16% back. Also want to point out that levels 3 and 4 also, in addition to the 14 and 16% back in host money, they also can pick any item in the catalog for 50% off. So it also may be worthwhile if your order's getting quite large, whether it's your own or an individual order or a group order, that it might be worthwhile to check to see how far away from the next threshold level you are, because sometimes if you're very close, it might be worth adding on another pack of dimensionals or another pack of envelopes, and you might get another $20 or $30 to spend. Therefore, it's well worthwhile to add. So just be aware of where those levels are so that you can make the most of when and where you're spending your money, or when and where your customers are spending money. I've also found it to be very useful to let my customers know about this chart, because they can then plan their own orders accordingly. I have made up my own little chart. Rather than using percentages, I put in, if your order is this much, then you get this much back, and so on, and just made a little chart. So, and I put it in dollar figures rather than percentages, and that seems to be something that most people can understand a little bit better, or it's a little more clear what they can get back if they place their orders a little more strategically. So that may be something that's useful to you as well. The other way that you can use the host reward system to benefit you and your business is to be the host. You can have your own event, whether it's an in-person event or an online virtual workshop, class, party, however you want to structure it. Then you can receive any orders from the people, and you get to be the host, and you can then take that host money and use it to buy additional supplies for your business, or tick a few more things off your wish list, however you prefer to do that. You could do a launch party, you could do a technique class, you could do an open house for a new catalog. There are many different ways that you can structure an in-person or online class where you yourself can be the host. The other thing I wanted to mention is that in each catalog, there are one or a selection of exclusive host stamp sets, and these can only be purchased with host money, and they are very well priced, so good value for the money. They're a little bit lower priced than your typical catalog stamp set. In addition, they're only available during that particular catalog period, so they are exclusive and limited time offer. So just make sure to point those out to your customers and notice them yourself in case there's something there that's useful to you. So I hope you found a few tips and some information that's helpful for you. Thanks for watching.